Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBear's Casino. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Krysan. TK joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood in Baton Rouge. Today on Sports Shorts, we're going to get into, of course, the big story of the week here in Louisiana, and that is that Derek Carr is officially a New Orleans Saint. We thought that might happen a few weeks ago when he dabbled with the conversations and visited New Orleans prior to actually being released by the Raiders. But so when that didn't happen, I thought, well, maybe he's going to end up in New York or somewhere else. But he is a New Orleans Saint. We'll get your reaction to that. Obviously, it's mixed. Some people love the move, some not as motivated by it. Obviously, it's a controversial one, but we'll get your reaction here in a minute. Also, the LSU Tigers, baseball-wise, on the diamond, they rolled along. They played the Lighthouse of the Blind for a 4-game series over the weekend. Not only did they win them, they 10-run ruled 3 of them, should have 10-run ruled 4 of them. They didn't have a 10-run rule on Friday night, and it was 10-0 after the third inning. They now take on a better Lamar team, but a Lamar team coming off of losing 2 out of 3 at home against Penn, an Ivy League team. Penn last night, by the way, I believe lost to Nichols. Last I saw, they were down 3-2 in the bottom of the 8th, was Penn to Nichols. The Tigers will take on Samford, not Stanford. Samford's off to an okay start. They are above 500 this year. LSU basketball, Tommy and I are going to tell you how you can make more money before their season ends tonight. You got one more chance to make money on LSU basketball. Before their season is over, they pack up the basketballs. Hopefully, they take the air out of the basketballs, and everybody gets away from it for a couple weeks before they start back preparing for next year. Kim Mulkey and the LSU Lady Tigers have a long couple weeks off before they host the NCAA Regional and whatever else TK comes up with. We're presented by LeBear's Casino, and, of course, LeBear's Casino and the Barstool Sportsbook, the best place to watch all the action, including the LSU Lamar baseball game tonight. Speaking of that baseball game, Tommy, the Tigers are minus 750 on one of the national apps. You lay $750 to win $100 tonight over Lamar. I like that. I think the Tigers are expected, we don't know officially, expected to start Christian Little, the Vandy transfer. I think this is more about making sure he gets some work, maybe throw in a couple innings, an inning or two, but what I was told over the weekend was that he would get the ball first. Now we'll see if that's changed in the last 48 hours. But LSU has so many good arms, so many people that need to throw today. I mean, a Garrett Edwards who throws 96 miles an hour could use some work tonight. They're going to have a plethora of arms. Lamar doesn't hit very well. They're hitting like 240-something as a team, I believe. Their leading hitter is a former Rougarou player, Tanner Wilson, who played like a week for the Rougarou before he got hurt last summer. He's batting like 315. That leads the way. They only have 2 or 3 batters over 300 on their roster. So they're not a super high batting average team. You're talking about a Lamar team midweek. I think LSU rolls easy. Lay the 750 to win $100. I know it's not great value, but it's free money. Another game I like tonight, Tommy, for the bettors out there, Texas takes on Mercer. Texas won last night. They play today. I looked up Mercer's numbers and who they're throwing. Their team ERA is almost 6. It's a midweek game, which means they're throwing down the line pitching. They're at Texas. There'll be a big crowd. I like Texas tonight. Lay 310 to win 100 on that one over the Mercer. What say you, Tommy, about tonight? If would you go 750 for 100, or is that just a little too steep for you?
I don't know. Will Davis, former Tiger player and assistant coach, had been with the Lamar program 5 or 6 years now, and he's got some veteran guys. He's got a lot of juniors and seniors, which can be rare in college baseball at these mid-major schools. So they're going to come in guns a-blazing, but I just think LSU is just far too talented. I had an old saying, my old buddy Dave in Las Vegas used to say, you go broke betting heavy favorites all the time. But you've made it work. And with LSU, it's unique because the value's not there, but it's a 99% chance of winning the bet. You play the numbers, you play the percentages. It's about managing money. And if you want to lay 750 to pick up a free 100, then you go ahead and do it, So, we just have to see. But I would suspect that LSU wins going away, unless they just have an awful night, which is certainly possible in the game of baseball.
Yeah, there's been many years where LSU maybe wasn't great midweek, had its struggles midweek. I just don't think this is the year because they are extremely deep. They're extremely competitive, uh, competitively deep. And what I mean by that is there are many guys, Tommy, that think, hey, if I go 2 for 4 and a 2 for 3 with a homer on Tuesday, I might get in the starting lineup this weekend. There's a lot of battles that are going to go on throughout the year. People like Pearson and Stevenson and Joe Bear, battling for the outfield. Napolt and Guidry and others battling on the infield. And then you've got Jones and Beloso have a battle. And you've got all the catchers, Milazzo compete with Neal. You've got all these battles, and you don't drop off tremendously from one guy to the next. So because of that, I think offensively they're always going to be strong during the week. And pitching wise, this is arguably 1 through 13, probably as deep as they've ever been, as good as they've ever been. And because of that, you got plenty of guys with the 10-run rule. They lost 6 innings this weekend with the 10-run rule. So that's a lot of guys that didn't get innings, that need to throw and those types of things. So I think midweek is going to be different because this team is different this year.
I agree with you completely. I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. They got a lot of arms. And when you lose 6 innings, that makes a difference. When you lose 6 innings in 4 days, it was, or whatever, that makes a difference. So I would suspect they have to adjust to that and manage the pitching staff, Wes Johnson and Jay Johnson. And I'll defer to them. They know what they're doing.
By the way, Tommy, interesting how with the pitching staff, they do something unique. I've never seen this before. At the start of the ball game, when the starting pitcher's getting loose, when he gets down to about his last 20 throws or so, his last 5-10 minutes down in the bullpen, the entire pitching staff, including Wes Johnson, goes and stands behind him on the mound and kind of just hangs out and watches them warm up. And I asked Wes Johnson about it. That was his idea. It was something they similarly did in pro ball. Think about it. In pro ball, those guys are out there all day, all afternoon. They hang out in the bullpens. They watch each other throw. They talk baseball. Hey, this is how I'm gripping my changeup. This is how I'm gripping my slider. I'm trying something different. They work on things constantly. They're tinkering for 162 games, and they're talking, as Wes Johnson puts it, they're talking ball. And he wants his guys talking ball and supporting each other and watching what other guys do. And maybe, hey, the way this guy throws his slider, maybe I can pick up something. And so it's kind of a show of support, but it's also getting the pitchers to talk baseball and to watch each other throw to where they can talk to each other in the dugout. And, hey, I saw you do something different or whatever the case may be. It's kind of unique.
I like the idea, and it's all about learning. I mean, I remember when I was a freshman and a sophomore, I talked to some of the senior pitchers and just what they're doing, but we didn't stand behind the mound. Well, I'd be like, how does this work? I mean, you got a nice slider. What are you doing differently? So it's all about learning. You can always improve. You can always get better. And if Wes Johnson thinks this helps, bond the team, because Coach Bertman said you always got to put the team together. If you put them together like that and they learn and have fun, that'll pay off in the long run.
The other thing too, Tommy, is I'll tell you, as a guy who's thrown a bullpen with Coach Bertman standing behind me, watching me many times in my life, it puts a little added pressure on those guys when they're down there in the bullpen for two things. One, you don't want to look like an idiot in front of your teammates. You don't look like crap in front of your teammates. So there's a little competitive factor there. And there's some accountability, right? Like you're just a little more intense. You're just a little more locked in when you got 15 guys and your pitching coach standing within 10 feet of you watching every throw. I think it just makes you pitch with a little more intent.
Well, Ronnie, it's something I found over the years when I pitched. When I was in the bullpen, we never really had, maybe the pitching coach was out there. But if I warmed up spot on, I'm hitting all the spots, all the breaking balls, working the changeups, dying on the plate. When I got on the mound, I was worthless, okay? But them days in the bullpen when I just couldn't make the breaking ball break and I couldn't get this to work, then you get on the mound and everything worked. I mean, I found that more than not in my career. And again, I was no great pitcher by any stretch, but I always thought that. So then sometimes I try to warm up poorly, thinking, okay, that means when I get on the mound, I'll throw a couple strikes.
Something to be. I don't know if that for me was the case, but I would say that there were a number of times where you just didn't feel right. It didn't feel great in the bullpen. Didn't think that for the most.
Here's a question from Chance. Do we think LSU can hold on to Wes Johnson for long? Obviously, he came from the Twins big league club to LSU.
I asked a couple weeks ago.
Ronnie, your audio is going in and out.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay. I asked Jay Johnson about that maybe 2 weeks ago, just kind of in passing. Like, I mean, I know you love him and he's great, but I mean, what are the chances LSU can keep him? And what I mean by that is not as a pitching coach, but maybe as a head coach somewhere, right? LSU, especially if LSU say they go on and win the national championship and the pitching staff so much improved from a year ago, he's going to be a big candidate for whatever best job is out there after the season's over with. And he said he thinks he's here for a good while, a good long term, and he just loves being the pitching coach. He loves just doing that. There's some guys that are better off being an offensive coordinator or a defense coordinator than they are being a head coach. And think about this: his package all. If LSU were to go on and win the national championship this year, like everyone hopes they will, there's no doubt I think he's going to make $1 million a year as the pitching coach. I mean, think about that. He's arguably going to be the non-head coach and make $1 million a year. And Wes John and Jay Johnson said, "I'll give him some of my salary." He says, "I don't need any more money. I'll take less money to keep Wes Johnson." And I think he's true. He's being sincere about that. I mean, that was Coach Orgeron's selling point when he took the job, when they hired him as the interim, and he was trying to lobby to be the head coach. He was saying, "Listen, you don't need to pay me $5 million a year. Pay me $2 million. I'll get you full role." This guy.
A lot of problems with your audio, Ronnie. We're not hearing you much at all. But no, and I mean, keep in mind, Jay Johnson wanted Wes Johnson when he first came to LSU from Arizona. So, and it didn't work out for whatever the reason. But look, Wes Johnson's family's here. I've met one of his daughters. I mean, they're planted in Baton Rouge. To answer Chance's question, I think they got a very strong chance of keeping him around for a while. But time will tell.
Is my audio any better right here, Tom?
Right. Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay. I'll surmise it real quick. I know I was talking a lot. It was cutting out. Jay Johnson said he'll take less money to be the head coach at LSU in the future if Wes Johnson stays. If LSU is able to win the national championship this year, then don't be surprised if Wes Johnson all of a sudden makes $1 million a year as the pitching coach.
Right.
He's already making $750 potentially. If they bump him to $1 million and Jay says, "Look, you don't need to give me any more money. I'm making 1.2, whatever. Like, give me one. I don't need any more money." And I think Jay Johnson's sincere about that. The guy doesn't do anything. He cares only about baseball. He loves baseball. And I think for him, making $1 million a year, being the baseball coach at LSU, he's not going to squeeze the Tigers for every dollar. He wants to make sure he's got the best staff possible to make his job easier and make sure LSU wins every year.
He definitely wants to win. He wants to win a national championship, and I agree with you on all that. And I believe he's sincere about that as well.
All right, so LSU basketball, the Tigers, the men Tigers, I'm very sad to see the season potentially come to an end tonight. They take on the Georgia Bulldogs first round of the SEC tournament. The Tigers find themselves amazingly anywhere from a 1.5 to 2.5 point favorite, depending on where you see the line. I actually saw the line yesterday at 2.5. LSU was 2.5. I bought the 0.5 point. So I took Georgia +3 for -130, right? Georgia +3 for mine means you got to lay 130 to win 100. I didn't bet 100. I bet a lot more than that. I think the Tigers are going to go out the way they came in. They're going to lose this game, but they're surely not going to win by more than 3, Tommy. And then their season will be over with. Right now, we're 17-5-1 betting against LSU men's basketball in the last 23 games, betting against the spread. And so I think it's your last chance to get that 18th victory.
Well, I think Georgia's going to win. I bet plus $1.10 on the money line, meaning Georgia's got to win straight up. As long as they walk off the floor to win, I'll cash a ticket.
the men, to be honest with you, the LSU men did not cover against Georgia the last time they played.
Well, now it's time to take care of that.
Yeah. They'll bounce back. We have no doubt about that. The Lady Tigers, Kim Mulkey took the approach that Skip Bertman used to take when it came to SEC tournaments. She wasn't fazed by the fact that they lost in the semifinals. She wasn't fazed by the fact that they blew a 17-point lead against Tennessee. She's now, hey, I got 2 weeks to practice, get ready for NCAA tournament play. They had the crawfish yesterday at Ivan Cabrera's house in Plaquemine. How big of a deal do you think it was at all that they lost in the semis?
I don't think it's a big deal. Kim Mulkey, her track record speaks for itself. She knows what she's got to do to prepare the team for the tournament. They'll find out Sunday who they play, when, where, what, all that. It's Selection Sunday for the women's hoops on Sunday. So you got to know that she knows what to do. She's going to handle it the way she wants with what's best for her team.
By the way, congratulations to the Raging Cajuns. They punched their ticket to the Big Dance. First time in like 9 years. They won the Sun Belt.
Since 2014, first time they're going dancing. So good job, Coach Marlin and the Raging Cajuns.
They had a great start to their season. They went like 10-1. They didn't really play anybody, but they had like 11-1 or something start to their year. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that Marlin and the Cajuns and Will Wade and the Tigers were getting into it in the NIT, first round of the NIT.
Glad you remembered that.
Yeah. And how things have changed over the years. By the way, talk to some people, that follow college basketball and know all the parties involved. They 100% agree that Will Wade will be coaching next year somewhere. And that LSU possibly could have egg in their face. I mean, I don't think LSU had anywhere around letting them go because they would have gotten in more trouble with the NCAA, I think, if they would have kept them with everything going on, the investigation with basketball and football and everything. But he'll be somewhere. The other thing is tonight, Northwestern State, the Demons, they play in the Southland Conference Finals over in Lake Charles against, I think, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, if I remember. But anyway, Northwestern State, first-year head coach. Remember, they had the player with one arm that's in the Nike commercials and everything. They are in the finals. They might be punching their ticket to the big dance. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. McNeese travels to take on the Raging Cajuns in baseball tonight over in Lafayette. That's a game on tap. I couldn't find a line on that one. And the LSU softball
that game's going to become an annual event memorializing Tony Robichaux.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it's a big to-do. Obviously, he played at McNeese, coached at McNeese, and obviously tremendous success with the Raging Cajuns, a near and dear friend of both you and I and many people. And it's going to be a Coach Robe kind of thing, kind of like the Wally Pontiff Jr. thing. Right. I read a few things. I need to read more on it, but that's perfectly fitting because that's where Tony played and coached in Lake Charles at McNeese, and then, of course, what he did with the Raging Cajun program. So I'm glad to see that. Much deserved, and I know Tony's wife and his sons will be very proud.
They should call it like the Robe Classic.
That's
or
it.
Something.
Bingo, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then play a home and home, and kind of like the old Pelican Cup between UNO and Tulane back in the day, where they would play a home and home.
Well, they still play the Pelican Cup. It just doesn't. It lost a little luster, I guess.
But anyway. They, I think it was like a run differential thing or something like that. Determine the winner if it was a split, but they should do something like that with McNeese. Tony was the youngest head coach in America when he got the job at McNeese. It was an interesting story. The coach left during the fall. It was a last-minute thing. And I think he was 24, I believe, when he got the head coaching job.
Yeah, Robe was a right-handed pitcher at McNeese, and we played them many a time. We never did it where he and I pitched the same game, but certainly I remember. He wasn't great, but he battled, and he was a competitor, and every now and then he'd have a good out.
All right.
Derek Carr, Ronnie. Derek Carr. We kind of didn't get to Derek Carr.
We teased it, but we didn't get to it yet. All right, Derek Carr, I'll give my take. You give yours. I like the decision. I think he's an upgrade with what they have on the roster. I think he's an upgrade on what they could get in the offseason. I think he was the best available quarterback based on what's really out there. We know Lamar Jackson now has been tabbed by the Ravens. If you take him, you got to give up 2 first-round picks. Obviously, that was never an option for the Saints. They don't have the picks to give. If you're picking 29th in the first round, you're basically putting all your eggs in the hooker basket, the Hendon Hooker basket, and that maybe he'll be there. Maybe he's worth a 29th pick. I think this is more of a sure thing. I know like others were worried about the cap thing. And look, it's not my job to worry about the cap. I just know as far as what they could get in the draft and what they could get free agency wise, I'm completely happy with this decision. To me, he's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL, probably 12 to 15, somewhere on that list. And that's as good as you can do.
Well, Ronnie, having been around for a while, when I was noticing the restructuring of Ramczak's contract, Lutz, Tyrann Mathieu, I'm thinking Mickey Loomis knows he's got a legitimate shot at Carr and going to have to pay him. Hey, they upgraded the position, and Tom Brady's not coming back. Rich Eisen reported from the combine that Brady might come back, but Brady has stopped that. So he's not going to come back. So they now have the NFC South, who's the weakest division. They now have the best quarterback in the NFC South. And right now they're the favorite to win the South, albeit the problems they had last year. Got to shore up the offensive line a little bit. I think they'll try to do that through the draft. I think it's a good acquisition to get Derek Carr. Everybody keeps saying he's 31 years old. Ronnie, he'll be 32 in like a week and a half. He got a birthday coming up, so he's a 32-year-old quarterback. We'll call it that. But Dalton's 34. Winston's going to be gone. I don't know. Maybe you keep Dalton as the backup and let Winston go, or maybe you let both of them go. You still got Taysom Hill as of today, although some rumors about him being moved. But we'll see how it plays out, as you like to say. But I think it's a good acquisition by the Saints to get Derek Carr.
I agree with you. Tell us about Tremonti's before we get out of here.
Hey, every Tuesday now they're doing a crawfish special. They rolled over 400 pounds of boiled crawfish out of here yesterday afternoon on a Tuesday. So Taco Tuesday is being replaced by the crawfish special with Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Everything you need for Lent, the shrimp, the fish, you name it, the crabs and crawfish, they got it all here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Today the lunch special is lasagna. That's every Wednesday. So if you like some good homemade mom's recipe lasagna, Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, go to tremontis.com. So connect on Facebook and Instagram, and they're right on Jefferson Highway, a couple of blocks away from Parkview Baptist Church and School. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood.
All right, we'll be back on Wednesday when TK's over at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen.
Friday, Tremonti's.
Or what is today? Wednesday? I'm losing track.
Ronnie, we got to get you a calendar. You got one of them things on your phone.
Got a lot going on here. All right, we'll be back.
I'm gonna come by you. I'm gonna come by your new office. I'll be by your new office in about an hour.
And then tonight, we're gonna be out in Ascension Parish. I'm gonna get out of here. Why don't you tell people about tonight, because it's a really cool event. Yeah,
big night for AP baseball down at Stevens Park on Cannon Road. You go to the AP baseball Facebook page, everything's posted. They're going to try to set a record with the Guinness Book of Records is going to be there with Lathan the Kid umpire, 7-year-old umpire from Hammond. He's world famous. He's going to be at AP baseball tonight. He's going to call a couple of games behind the plate. Lathan the Kid umpire. You can look him up all over social media. Go to the AP baseball social media, the Facebook page, the info's there. Rue, the mascot for the Baton Rouge Rougarou, will be in the park. Going to be a big crowd. Stevens Park on Cannon Road in Gonzales. So we want you to check it out. Ascension Parish Baseball, AP Baseball with Lathan the Kid umpire tonight, and Rue, the mascot from the Baton Rouge Rougarou of the Texas Collegiate League. All right, on behalf of Ronnie and myself and everybody here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, please like and share this video. That's important. Please like and share this video. We'll be back Friday morning with more Sports Shorts Daily. Have a great day, everyone.